Good afternoon. So this is going to be a demonstration for your heart's concept painting done on small pieces of watercolor paper. I say concept, it really is a watercolor study, a color study, and so it's not exactly like a concept using only pencil. This is you exploring and experimenting with colors, and also, of course, learning your watercolor technique as you go along. You see under the camera I have markers. You may see over here some Sharpie markers as well, permanent markers. We have water to use. This container is full of kosher salt. You don't have to use it. I'm going to show you how to use it. I have 3 smaller drawings here on watercolor paper, all done with permanent marker, and I think I'm going to go ahead and work with, say, this one right here. This one has a lot of pencil work on it. You can use colored pencil on watercolor paper. Colored pencil on watercolor paper works really, really good. And you can see I've already started my final for later on for my second video. And yet again, once again, I guess, I've used Sharpie marker, which is permanent marker, and I've started to add some pencil color to this. So you can always add on dry paper colored pencil color if you want to. And I'm going to be working on this one, and these other 2 are going to go out of the way. Now, if you want to, when you are working a design, you can add color with colored pencil. Now, while the paper is dry, or later, after you've painted, when the paper is dry, there's no rule that says you can't do it later. So, like I've always done with color, I'm controlling the pressure on the tip of my pencil. I'm achieving colors that are both dark and light. And this is just a single color here. This is kind of a red-orange. But it might be later on, if I paint on top of this, I won't use a red-orange. I might use another color. I might use a yellow. I might use a blue. And of course, you'll have blending going on when you do that. And it's always kind of fun to see what the resulting color is when you blend watercolor on top of the colored pencil. We can employ some logic here. You know, a red on the color wheel is right across from a green. And if I were to put a green watercolor on here, I'd get kind of a neutralized color, a brownish or a grayish color. We might try that. But if I want to put a yellow on top of red, you know, the blend is going to give us an orange, all right? Or if I put a blue on top of the red, you can kind of suspect that the blend is going to give me a violet, a purple. So there's just all kinds of ways to approach using pencil and watercolor together. I'm going to stop right there because I want this video to be short, but realize that I can go anywhere I want to with colored pencil and do more of the same. But I'm going to switch over here to marker. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take a yellow marker and put it right on top. You know, even without painting, that looks pretty good. That yellow marker right on top of that orange looks pretty good. You can see the blend I'm getting right there. That's kind of cool. I can use yellow on top of white here. That's kind of cool. I guess I could go back on top of that when it dries and maybe do some additional color pencil on top of that. There's lots of possibilities. Okay, I've got my yellow. Let's go over here and take a blue. Now, I'm going to put my blue here, and I think I'll carry it up and blend it with my yellow. Blue, 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 kind of a greenish blue. And you can expect that when the blue and the yellow mix, that they're going to form a green. Here's my water. And remembering that you always make sure that your brush points when you pull it out of the water, pull it against the lip of the container. Remember, don't forget that that's got a point. And I'm going to go in here with my brush. A little too much water there. I'm going to take some out on my towel. There we go, that's better. And just follow along. You can see the green resulting when I take the blue into the yellow, blue into the yellow. And it's a very simple way to add mixed colors, okay? So that's actually pretty cool. I'm going to leave it alone. Why didn't the water mix with the pencil colors or this other marker color over here? Well, it could have, I guess, had I made that wet, but I didn't. So as long as these areas between the blue and yellow stripes and green stripes remains dry, then nothing's going to blend together. So I kind of like that effect just the way it is. You know what? I think I'm going to leave that alone. If you come to a point where you're happy with the result, leave it alone. Now let's go ahead and take this kind of bluish, what is that? Yeah, it says blue. Okay, so that's a blue. And I'm going to come along here, this edge, and just laying down a very thick band of blue. It's transparent, you can see through it. Underneath the blue are my original lines, my Sharpie marker lines. So just remember that this pigment that you're adding is transparent. Watercolors are transparent. That's just their nature. If they weren't transparent, if we couldn't see through them, guess what? We wouldn't call them watercolors, we'd call them something else. And remember that blue and red mix pretty nicely, so I might go ahead and turn this piece of paper, careful of the wet areas, and add red to the other side. You notice how I turn the paper in a way that allows me to come in from my right, since I'm right-handed, and place the point of my marker or the point of my paintbrush exactly where I need it. Snap those markers when you're done. Again, rinsing the brush out, pulling out excess water on the lip of the cup or here on the towel. Keep that towel handy. I'm going to come along here and dissolve the red, and maybe come over here, turn the paper, and go into the blue and dissolve the blue. And let's bring those together in the middle, getting kind of some grayish violets going on. And I don't like to overwork the surface. I like to do it and leave it alone. So I'm just leaving that alone. And as those wet areas dry, the water moves around just a little bit, but actually it does a pretty nice job drying, pretty much the way you see it. And we're going to leave it like that for the time being. When this is dry, if I want to go back with additional color, marker color, or pencil color, I can certainly do it. So I'm going to rinse that brush. Now, I mentioned the salt, and I'm going to put it to use right now. It could be that I want to go into some of these little polka dots with pencil and just go ahead and add a bright, whoops, that's not a polka dot, a bright green there. And then I'm going to put something on top of green. I'm going to put, you know what I'm going to try? I'm going to try black. Let's see what happens. I like using black because it's a very strong, dramatic color, but you do have to be careful with the amount. Notice I'm going over some of my green and it's getting covered up. I don't know if it's going to stay covered up or not. Let's go ahead and snap the cap. I'm going to be very carefully going in here, unload the brush, take out the excess water out of the brush. Let's add water to the black, and I'm going to bring that's quite a bit of water, and that's good. Bring that color around. In this case, I might add just a little more water to make sure that is good and wet. And when it's good and wet, I'm going to right away sprinkle a few grains of kosher salt on there. Now, the effect is somewhat immediate. Already you see the salt pulling on the water from the paint, and give that a few more minutes. You're going to get some neat crystalline effects right there. I'm going to rinse the brush since I no longer need that black on there and dry it out. And unless I'm going to use the kosher salt again, I'm going to put it away. You do not need to use kosher salt, but it really does give you some very interesting crystalline effects, and it will pull in the black, and pulling out of the black some additional pigments. You may see not just black on the paper, you may see some browns, you may see some blues, you may see some purples. So we're going to see the salt have its effect over the next few minutes as I continue to work. Remembering that you can always jump back and forth between colored pencil and marker. I might go ahead and put a little colored pencil here. I don't think I've done much blending of colored pencil, but of course, you know, that's always a possibility. This is orange. Here comes a blue-green. Now, orange is made with red and yellow, and blue-green is made with yellow and blue. And so I'm really mixing all three primaries, red, yellow, and blue together here. What normally happens when you do that, you get a neutralized color. You get kind of a nice brown or gray, and here you go. Right here where the blue-green is mixing with the orange, you can kind of see the orange is losing its intensity, it's dropping, and I'm getting kind of a brownish, grayish color right there. Nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful color, and we can oftentimes shade with that color, especially if the object that you're shading is orange. Not a problem. Let me throw some red over here, and let's go ahead and do some painting on top of that. Let me grab, let's grab, here's a purple. I'll put a little purple there. And take my brush, remove most of the water on the towel, on the lip of the container. I'm just going to very carefully pull that back. That's not bad. I think I might leave that little line of white there. It kind of helps to separate the blue from the purple. All right, so you can leave one on the paper. That's not a problem whatsoever. So you can see that this is coming together. If you want to, oh, here's a color I haven't used. Let's use this color. Let's just go ahead and do more stripes. Stripes, 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 stripes. And let's try this orange. We have orange on the paper, but I don't think it came from one of our markers yet. It may have come from a pencil, maybe a blend. So you can see that I'm not really doing any painting, leaving a lot of white on the surface. I could take all the water out of my brush. This is called dry brush. and just use a little bit of water, very little bit of water, to create lines like this, dry brush technique, leaving some white in there. That's kind of cool. I might take my yellow and put that there, and let's blend that with a little bit of purple. I predict that we're gonna get some neutralized colors there. Purple's made with blue and red. Yellow is a primary. All three primaries in the same spot means some neutralization. There's that gray, that greenish gray, I guess, in this case, that I was kind of expecting. The intensity of the yellow, the brightness of the yellow drops, but not a big deal. So here I go. Oh, look over here. Do you see how the salt has had its effect? That's pretty cool. Now, I'm not going to mess with that area. I can even see some of those green spots that I put on originally that I thought were going to be covered up by the black marker. So that's kind of cool. They're sort of emerging from the black. Kind of makes sense that the water wouldn't want to stick there because those colors are sort of full of a bit of a waxy quality there, repelling the water. But that's really neat. See the oranges and the blues are coming out of the blacks. That's kind of neat, combined with the, oh, there's some kind of pinkish or reddish colors there, combined with the greens. That's pretty nifty. So I'm leaving that alone. When that dries, I can brush off the salt. And again, if I want to play around with pencils. So your job for your color study here, using the motif of hearts, is to mess around with materials, get good handling your brush, get good with pencil work in combination with watercolor, although you don't have to do that. Be a little experimental with your colors. Learn how to handle both your marker and your brush, because you know there's an art to each one of those. I'm going to come in with just a little moisture on the tip of that brush, just a little softening there and there. And you can see I'm almost done. I'm going to put just a bright flash of red right here. I don't think I've used any straight red yet. Well, maybe I have over here. And maybe another couple of splashes of red right there. That can just remain a combination of red and black and white right there. And you know what? I'm done. That would be my color study. It's a very small thing on a quarter sheet of watercolor paper. This is going to be worth 30 points. The one you do later is going to be a full sheet. It's going to be 50 points, okay? But that's the final. Right now, you're just doing the color concept. So set up the way I'm set up. Have a cup of water there. Have your brushes. Have your towel. Have your kosher salt if you want to. Keep your markers handy. Cap them when you're done. Use Sharpie marker whenever, before or after the paper is painted on. No problem. And now, you try.